UPI, India's real-time mobile payment system, enables instant money transfers between bank accounts using only a mobile number or a UPI ID. This simplifies transactions compared to NEFT, IMPS, which require an IFSC code and a bank account number. Users can access multiple bank accounts through a single UPI app like Google Pay or PhonePe. Scan a QR code and complete the payment. What does the QR code contain? Is this secure? What is the role of apps like Google Pay and PhonePe? How do different banks, example HDFC and ICICI, communicate during a transaction? What is the difference between international payment systems like PayPal and UPI? UPI processes a staggering 500 million transactions daily. For comparison, Bing, being the second largest search engine in terms of search volume, handles approximately 900 daily search queries globally. For every 2 Bing searches, there happens a UPI transaction. How does UPI infrastructure handle this volume? Since UPI is free for users, who covers this infrastructure costs? Let's discuss some of these aspects. Let's start with QR codes. For example, I have taken a QR code generated from a Zepto payment page. To decode this QR code, I drag this image into a decoder. We have a URL like string. This URL has UPI as the protocol, similar to how web URLs have HTTP or HTTPS. Some of the key query parameters include payment address, payee name, transaction reference ID, and finally amount. What happens if a QR code is tampered? Specifically the amount part. If the amount is altered, let's say from 110 to 10 rupees, and a new QR code is generated with this string. Google Pay shows the transaction is successful. However, the Zepto page shows pending status. Where does the debited amount go? To understand this, we need to look at the UPI's architecture. Users interact with UPI through third-party application providers like Google Pay, PhonePe, and Paytm. These third-party applications connect to payment service providers or PSPs, which handle the transaction. For instance, Google Pay might use HDFC as a PSP, while PhonePe and Paytm might use S-Bank. PSPs communicate with the UPI network, managed by NPCI or National Payments Corporation of India, which sends the debit-credit request to the banks. In the Zepto example, Google Pay sends the UPI parameters, payee address, transaction ID, user details, etc. to its PSP. The PSP sends this information to the UPI network. Finally, UPI performs 3 actions. First, UPI resolves the sender's bank account and initiates a debit request. The sender's bank verifies funds and transaction validity before confirming with UPI. Second, it sends a request to the receiver's server. Zepto, in this case, upon receiving a response, UPI proceeds to the next step. It sends a credit request to the receiver's bank, thus completing the payment. If the QR code is tampered with, the process proceeds normally until UPI contacts the Zepto server. Zepto server checks this transaction amount and ID. Because the amount is altered, Zepto rejects this payment and doesn't acknowledge back to the UPI. The UI still shows the payment as the transaction is pending. The user's bank already debited the incorrect amount. These unsettled payments are typically reversed by the UPI within the next 24 to 48 hours. A previous test with just 1 rupee resulted in a refund the following day.